Have you ever felt like you're doing everything right, eating clean, working out, and trying to manage your stress, and still your body feels off, bloated, tired, and just stuck? What if the missing piece isn't a diet, but it's actually your gut? Today, I'm breaking down how gut health affects everything from your hormones to your metabolism and to your mood, and why a probiotic or an elimination diet isn't the fix you think it is. Let's get into it. All right, my friends, today we're talking all about gut health because here's the thing I want you to remember is that you can eat the healthiest diet in the world, but if your gut isn't breaking down, it literally means nothing. It's going to the literal shitter, maybe days later, but it's not doing what we think it should do. So if you're sitting down to eat a very nutritious meal and an hour later, you're incredibly bloated, you're uncomfortable, you're gassy, this means that your gut is screaming for help. I personally have struggled immensely with my gut. My gut health took a big old tanker about, I don't know, 4 years ago, probably. And when I say I've spent thousands of dollars on trying to figure out my gut, I spent thousands of dollars. I spent so much time, so much energy trying to figure out why my gut was such a mess. I couldn't eat anything without feeling incredibly bloated and uncomfortable. There would be days where I can't even button my pants because my stomach is so distended. Here's one thing also I want you to know the difference between bloating and body fat. Bloating will feel like a taut or a blown up balloon. So when you push on your belly, if it feels like a balloon that's very like blown up, like it kind of has that bounce back, that's bloating. That means there's air being distended into your tummy. And if it's soft and squishy and you can pull it away from your body, that's body fat. Many times we get confused on which one is which because sometimes we just feel general discomfort in our body and we just say it's bloating, but sometimes it's body fat. So just so you know, there's a difference between the two. But I would feel incredibly bloated. I remember one night I went out with my friends. We went for a happy hour and we had like these, I knew gluten was a problem for me, but I would still have it like if I was away from home. And we ordered like these little pita bread things and hummus. And I had like one. I had one. And then I also had an alcoholic drink. And I was so uncomfortable after I ate that. I laughing at how ridiculous my stomach responded to those tiny little things that I just ate. I showed my friends and they were like, "Oh my God, what is happening to your body?" And I was like, I don't know. My gut is just a disaster. And I've tried everything, or what I thought was everything, to get this gut to work, and it is not working. I had diagnostic tests. I had x-rays. I had doctor's appointments. I had functional providers. I did cleanses. I did fasting. I did it all. And what I'm going to tell you today is what the actual thing was that turned things around for me. Gut health is one of my favorite things to do in Mindfully Well because you get such good results when somebody comes in with majority of a gut health issue. Their results are always so phenomenal because we can turn things around actually very quickly inside of the program. And so it's one of my favorite things to go after because we can get you feeling so much better so quickly. And I'm going to teach you about that today too. And also, just so you know, if you're at the beginning of this episode and you don't make it to the end, is that I'm going to be having a 21-day gut health reset starting on June 9. You can sign up at mindfullywell.com/gut reset. You can also go to my Instagram. It'll be there as well. Or go to the show notes and you can register. It's only $47. It's going to be 21 days. And that is going to be a steal for what you're all getting in this 3 weeks. You're going to feel so much better. You're going to understand the root cause of what's going on inside of your gut and why it's behaving the way that it is. So before I really knew what was going on, I just noticed that I was significantly bloated after eating certain foods. And so I went down the normal route, which many of you have done or you're thinking about doing. And it's like, I should just do food sensitivity testing, because that's the reason why that this is all happening. And so you hope that the food sensitivity test gives you some clear answers. And what it does is it just makes you more confused. And also, FYI, it doesn't give you any root cause solutions. It just tells you you could be responding to this food and this food and this food. You might be responding to this food and this food and this food, and you're very likely responding to this food. And all of that is to say that the things that show up on those tests as that you're responding to could also be that you just eat them all the time, because you create an antibody and antigen response to those foods. And so then that shows up on that food sensitivity test. It doesn't mean you're actually responding to those foods. It's just because you eat it often. So I'm not a fan of food sensitivity testing. I don't think it ever gives you clarity. You actually just end up being more confused. And that's what it did for me, because I was like, really? Like, all of the foods I eat are on here. I can't eat any of this. And so then I had to be like, do I just want to be bloated then, I guess? Because I don't really want to give up apples. I mean, apples seem pretty benign, and I don't ever feel that bad after I eat apples. And I just was responding because I eat apples all the time, or I was eating apples all the time. So that's where I initially started to notice that I was having a gut problem, was food sensitivity. So that's typically the thing that you'll notice that'll be the most obvious to you, because that kind of gets your attention that there's something definitely going on here. Like, foods that I used to eat now cause a significant amount of issues for me. Another one that I had that you don't always put two and two together when you experience this, but when I say this, now I want you to start paying attention to how often you experience it, but it's brain fog. And when we have brain fog, so our gut and our brain are connected by the vagal nerve. And we have an enteric nervous system as well. So that means inside of the gut is an entire nervous system on its own. And so when the gut is unhealthy, it's sending signals to your brain like things aren't good here. So think about the environment inside of your gut. If your gut is unhealthy, then it's sending that same message up into your brain. We're not healthy, we're not good here. And things get really mucky and cloudy. And like your next word, all of a sudden you lose it mid-sentence. You walk into rooms and you don't know why. And you get just really like cloudiness all day long is like the best way that I can describe it, is that you just walk around in a cloud. And that also can feel that way emotionally too. Because if you have brain fog, it can feel very disheartening. You start to question yourself like, oh my God, is this early stage dementia? I'm 40. What is going on? But it's just because your gut is unhappy. And remember that everything that I'm talking about today, they're just symptoms, and symptoms are just your body trying to get your attention and trying to tell you something. And that's your first clue that let's find some answers. Let's find some solutions to this, because it's totally solvable. I didn't realize at the time that the brain fog and the food sensitivities, I almost chalk them up to being like normal. Maybe I'm just more stressed. Maybe I just have a lot more on my plate. The fatigue I would have, the inconsistent digestion. That's another thing is the fatigue that comes along with poor gut health, is that when your gut is struggling to break down and digest your foods, whenever you eat, it is such an enormous amount of energy that it takes to break down those foods, because your gut is so unhealthy, that you become physically tired after you eat because you don't have any energy left in your tank. It took so much energy to break down that meal. It was really hard work for your gut to do that. And so now you're left feeling super tired and sluggish after eating, when you should actually feel a little bit better after eating, right? Also remember that gut health isn't just about digestion, it's foundational. So foundational to everything going on in your body. Your gut is always ground zero. And when your gut isn't able to break down the foods that you're eating, you won't have proper absorption of the foods, which means that sends the signal to your body, the rest of your body, like, we don't have enough food here, even though you're eating. So that will be like, oh, there's a famine. Right? Your body goes into thinking there's literally not enough food here because your body's not breaking it down. And so then that goes into energy conservation. So your body's like, we're not getting enough food here. Let's conserve energy. Let's bring this all the way down. And you feel tired, you feel sluggish. And then you also end up with what I often see in my practice is weight loss resistance, because there's an energy issue. right? You could be eating the best diet in the world, but your body's not actually breaking it down and using it for energy. And then also your gut is where we start to detox as well. So your body breaks it down, moves it into fuel, and then it moves it through your intestines to then be evacuated through detoxification, through your stool, through your poop. And when that's not working, then your stool either stays in your intestines for too long, and inside your stool, inside your poop, you have a whole bunch of toxins. That's how we get rid of toxins in our body, is through poop and pee and sweat. And when your stool sits inside your colon, you're going to reabsorb those toxins because they're just sitting there on your very absorbable intestinal wall. It's going to soak up that toxin all over again, and then you have to try to filter it out all over again. And now pretty soon you get toxin build up, so you get too many toxins floating around because you're never evacuating them. And so your gut is like ground zero for creating energy and then also getting rid of your toxins. This also means detoxing hormones. So if you're not detoxing inside of your gut, you're also not detoxing hormones. And then hormones get reabsorbed as well. And then we get a hormonal imbalance. We have too many hormones floating around and not enough being detoxed out, and you end up with hormonal imbalances. And that's why many of my clients come into my program. They may present initially with hormone symptoms because that's the thing that's maybe getting their attention more, or they think that it's more important. But if I find out, through your intake form that you actually have a lot of bloating, gas, or constipation, diarrhea, reflux, whatever it is, I'm like, we really need to go after your gut first, because trying to fix hormones with a bad gut is going to get you 3 steps forward and 4 steps back. You're going to maybe feel better for a short amount of time, but you're going to go backwards, and then you'll likely feel worse, because the longer you let your gut stay in this state, the longer your body becomes more and more stressed. And then your metabolism really starts to slow down. Like I said, it's an energy issue as well. If you're not moving and breaking down that food and moving it into energy, your body is perceiving there to be an energy deficit. And so then your body is going to tank your energy, and that just naturally lowers your metabolism as well. So hormonal balance, remember, it starts in your gut. Always. If your gut isn't working, your body's not creating or clearing hormones as it should, and that will lead to hormonal imbalances. Gut health can also cause a lot of sugar cravings, honestly. And I see this with somebody who maybe has an overgrowth in yeast, but really just the imbalance of gut bacteria. So good bacteria to bad bacteria, we're always going to have both of them. We just want to make sure that they're balanced in both ways. But when we get an overgrowth of bad bacteria, those bad bacteria actually live and thrive off of sugar. Sugar is their primary fuel source. And so they will send you cues to your brain to say, get us some sugar. Right? So you'll notice that you have more sugar cravings, that you just can't satiate that sugar craving until you have the actual sugar. And it's a roller coaster. And then you feed those bad bacteria, and then they grow, and then they send you more sugar cravings, and then you eat the sugar, and then they grow. And it's just this vicious cycle that keeps on going until we can get that microbiome to be a little more balanced. And whenever your gut is in poor health or poor condition, this is always a stressor, an internal stressor for your body. So you hear me talk a lot about stress on this podcast and talk about your cortisol. Well, your body is not only responding cortisol to your day-to-day stress, but it's also it's going to create cortisol based on your internal stress. And so if it knows that there's something going on with your gut, that your gut isn't working, maybe there's an imbalance of bacteria, maybe the gut integrity wall has become rather leaky, whatever it is, maybe there's low stomach acid, so you're not breaking down your food and food is sitting in there for too long, which creates the bloating and the constipation, then your body produces cortisol because this is stressful for your body. Your body wants to try to fight this for you. It wants to try to heal it for you. So it creates more cortisol inside of your body to try to do that. And what this presents as is that now you wake up at night, you might fall asleep okay, but then you start waking up around 2, 3, 4 a.m. And that's because it's your body going to work trying to heal your environment inside by producing cortisol. And for you, that's very confusing because you're like, why am I waking up? Well, it's just internal stress. And you don't really have any other way to identify why this is happening until you start asking yourself, okay, like from this episode, are some of these symptoms lining up for you? Is it possibly making sense that maybe your sleep issue could be the same type of symptom as like you're bloating after eating a salad, right? So put two and two together. It may not be that you have a huge hormone problem. It may not be that you're necessarily in perimenopause. Maybe you are, but could it be that your gut is not healthy? Remember your sugar cravings. A lot of times we like to blame ourselves that I just can't get my shit together when it comes to sugar. I just keep eating it. I want you to like see yourself with compassion here, that this isn't because you lack willpower, that you're not disciplined. It's because you have something inside of you literally screaming at you to eat more sugar, right? It's like a screaming toddler inside of your gut being like, sugar, sugar, sugar. And you'd be the best disciplined person in the world. And most of us are going to give into that if sugar is around us and we're available to do it. And so one thing with your gut is that if you're noticing that you have a lot of those sugar cravings and you just feels really insatiable, not only is part of this is blood sugar instability as well, but the other part is like the quicker you can nip it in the butt, the quicker you can feel better. So if you can cut out sugar, like go through like some sort of sugar detox, like no sugar for 7 days, you're actually going to get that bad bacteria to start to diminish quicker and actually just on its own without having to do anything drastic. Sometimes just kicking the sugar habit will help your bloating and help some of those gut symptoms as well. So one of the things that I often see online that I just want to touch on very quickly is that there are so many supplements out in the world that tell you that this one thing will fix your gut. And what I want you to remember is that there's not one supplement out there that's going to fix your gut. It's just not true, because the integrity of your gut health, all the components of your gut health there's so many things that go into it that it won't ever be one supplement that you need. It actually won't be really any supplement. They can help alleviate some of your symptoms, but true gut health is always going to be coming from your food quality, your food quantity, your meal timing, and your nervous system support or your stress management. Those are going to be the biggest things that are going to help heal your gut. It's not another bottle of probiotics. It's not a strain of probiotics. It's not a freaking GLP-1 probiotic. That's not even a thing. So pay attention to how much marketing you receive about your gut and how many supplements you have sitting in your cupboard right now that are half full because you bought them hoping that they would work, noticing that you took them and maybe you felt a little bit different, but it wasn't really worth the price. It wasn't worth the time. It wasn't worth, all of the stuff. And so you just stopped taking it. And so I want you to like look at the patterns in the past and notice what you have tried to do on your own and that it didn't work and that it's maybe something else, right? Maybe it is your nervous system that needs some work. Maybe it is the food quality and the food timing that needs some work. Those are really the things that are going to change you from the inside out. And while we're on the topic of your nervous system and your stress, the biggest reason why your nervous system has such a big impact on your gut health is because we have three branches of the nervous system. We have parasympathetic, which is your rest and digest, right? Digest is literally in there, parasympathetic. And then we have sympathetic, which is your stress state. And you don't digest in a stress state because your body will prioritize what needs to be prioritized in order to keep you alive when you're in that sympathetic state. And digestion isn't the thing that it needs to prioritize in that time, in that moment. And so it's going to prioritize getting blood flow to your arms and your legs, making sure your eyesight is on point, and making sure that your heart beats and your lung continues to breathe, all of those kinds of things. But like breaking down your lunch is not a priority for your body at that time. And so this is why your your nervous system is such a big deal when it comes to your gut health, because so many times, and we don't even realize how often we're in the sympathetic state because we've really normalized it. And it's just become a chronic day-to-day state for our society. How many times do we scroll on our phones and we don't even realize that we get pushed into that sympathetic state? Listening to the news, we get pushed into the sympathetic state. Hearing our kids scream at us and demand things when we're tired, sympathetic state. Ask or getting another email at work that you don't want to deal with, and it's a crabby customer or a crabby boss, sympathetic state. Also, the foods that we eat day in and day out, highly processed, lots of sugar, lots of sodium that's not helpful for you, lots of ingredients that our body doesn't actually recognize and it can't break down. And that leads to more toxins inside of the body. Sympathetic state. Do you see how often we're being driven into that sympathetic state, and how the least amount of time that really probably ever in our society we are sitting in parasympathetic state? And so we need to teach ourselves how to be in a regulated state. We are very dysregulated humans. And even though you may look at your life and think, but I don't really have that many stressors, I don't think I'm that stressed. If your body does not believe that statement, then it doesn't matter what your day-to-day stressors are. If your body is still in that sympathetic state, that state of overdrive, then you are not digesting your food. You are not breaking down your food, and you're moving yourself into a state of poor gut health where you're not breaking it down, you're not digesting. Your gut lining is becoming very leaky, and so food is going into the outside of the intestines into an area where it should be very sterile, and all of a sudden, like, you're eating a sandwich, and that's the outside world. And it goes into your belly. And because you have a leaky gut, now that sandwich is going outside of your stomach into the very sterile world. And this is why we have so many food sensitivity issues, so many allergies, so many like systemic body problems, because we have leaky gut, because the integrity of our gut lining is so poor. And that happens because we're in the sympathetic state, and because that sympathetic state will break things down in our body. You've heard me say before that cortisol breaks things down. It breaks down your gut lining. And that's how things get leaky. And that's why we start reacting to foods, and why our bowels stop moving, or they become very hypervigilant and they're moving all the time. And we have to always know where the bathroom is, or we have reflux. So all of those symptoms, they all go together. They're all trying to tell you the same thing. Help me, please help me do something differently. And so that's why your nervous system is so important. And we also have an entire nervous system inside of our gut, right? And so we really want to make sure that this isn't just a gut issue. We can't just isolate this to one supplement or one probiotic strain or one digestive enzyme and think it's going to fix the whole thing. It's an entire body thing. And this is ground zero. And what is our body trying to tell us about our gut? So my friends, if any of this is resonating to you, I highly encourage you to join me in the 21-day reset, where we're going to focus on food. We're going to focus on meal timing. We're going to focus on the food quality that you're eating, and a lot of inflammation, reducing inflammation inside of the body, because inflammation is stress. Stress is inflammation. And you're going to feel so much better. Plus, we're going to work on your nervous system, which, working on your nervous system, you just feel so good in your own skin. Like, you get to actually feel the goodness of your body a lot of more times than during the day than what you're currently feeling. Because when you're in the sympathetic state, when you're in overdrive, you don't get to feel like how good you feel. And you might feel like you never feel good, and that's why. And so if we can teach you how to get out of the sympathetic state and into a regulated state, and also into the rest and digest state, then you can teach yourself to do that all the time when you learn how to navigate your nervous system. And I'm going to do that with you in our 21-day reset. And also, if you just feel like you're a stressed woman, this is going to be for you, because I'm going to do so much nervous system teaching inside of the 21-day reset. So if you're like, I don't know that my gut is having an issue, but the stress thing sounds good, join me, because the stress part of this, like, if you feel like you're a stressed woman, and you feel that what I'm talking about, that sympathetic overdrive, your gut is just a few steps behind that, right? It's not going to take long for you to start to have those gut types of symptoms. Your gut isn't invisible. It will start to respond to that stress. So please join me. It's only $47. You can go to mindfullyWell.com/gut-reset, or you can go to my Instagram or head to the podcast show notes, and you can sign up through there. We start June 9 and we go all the way through the end of June. All right, my friends, I will see you next week.